Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Incheon, South Korea. Golden Boy here on the floor as we get ready for our next matchup. We have the Japanese team going up against Chinese Taipei. It's going to be a good matchup. Japan, of course, looking for another win. It's very, very necessary that they're able to get this to keep themselves competitive in this competition. But let's actually take a look at the standings so far and see where we currently are, because South Korea has taken the lead away from Russia, and they are now going to be in that first place position with that map differential of +9, which will be very, very important. And remember, that map differential can play the role in being the difference maker to making it to BlizzCon 2018. It's going to be a good one. Now, let's take a look at the schedule as well, because we have right now, as I had mentioned before, Chinese Taipei going up against Japan. And then later on, we're going to have Russia versus Finland, Chinese Taipei versus Hong Kong, and then our last matchup, which will be Japan against South Korea for all the marbles for day 2. Some good matches. And I think a lot of people are going to be very excited with this next one. But for now, though, let's actually send it over to your casters to break it all down, get us into the action. It's going to be a good one. Take it away.
Thank you, Golden Boy. Of course, it's going to be a battle of the dark horses here. Chinese Taipei versus Japan. Both of these teams still have the ability to get to BlizzCon later in the year. They're going to need a few upsets, but first, they have to fight each other.
Yeah, really they're fighting for their lives here. I mean, each one of these teams is really looking to be that dark horse, but there can really only be one at this point. I mean, already taking some tough losses early and not even facing all of the expected strongest teams in the tournament. I think either team coming away with a loss here is probably just canceling out their ticket to BlizzCon. So they're fighting for their lives. I think they're going to bring everything that they have to this match.
Absolutely. This is essentially an elimination match for both of these teams, but both of these teams do have some pretty good talent. And let's first take a look here at the Chinese Taipei team. Of course, a team that, you think about the history of the Chinese Taipei team. It was a different team last year, all in all, but it was a team that was pretty favored to go far. This year, more of the underdogs, but still, you look at players like Blue, you look at players like Shaolin that were so good yesterday. You see flashes of talent that could bring them over the top.
Yeah, and they're a team that we know is very flexible. I'm talking with some of the other teams that have been scrimmaging them here in Incheon. They found that they've been running really interesting, new, innovative compositions. So maybe they're looking to catch Japan off guard with a lot of the flexibility that you don't see in many rosters.
Speaking of Japan, you can't talk about Japan without talking about Depp. Depp, certainly a breakout Widowmaker player, a hit scan player that, look, we were told to look out for him for the people casting the Pacific contenders, and he's lived up to the hype here so far. And Japan, of course, most of these players on Cyclops Athlete Gaming.
Yeah, looking to go far in the contenders finals eventually in Thailand, but right now in Incheon, they're trying to go to BlizzCon, and I think for many this is an even more important match, right? You're fighting for national pride, not just contenders championship. So I'd like to see a lot out of them, especially, as you said, Depp, really performing on that Widowmaker. Yeah,
especially, of course, Japan. They have a history here in the Overwatch World Cup of being surprising. You think back to last year in the Australia stage where they had one of the best Overwatch matches of all time. Didn't quite make it to BlizzCon, but Japan has always been exciting to watch.
Yeah, time for redemption, maybe.
Just a little bit. Well, let's take a look at the first map of the day here. What's it going to be? It's going to be Ilios. So again, a little bit of fun in the sun. We'll see how the teams decide to go for it, but this could be quite good for Japan, where you think about how Depp has been playing so far, you get to Ruins, that's a good place for a good Widow.
Yeah, exactly. This is the time for Depp to shine, and we saw Japan come out so strong on Control in their match against Russia. They need to repeat here, need to stay alive in this tournament. So, of course, you better hope Depp is coming out hot first game.
And Depp, of course, will be going up against the duo of Shaolin and Blue, where Chinese Taipei, not something that you can really underestimate going in, because they've also been pretty good here so far.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen both of these teams be really competitive with rosters that you might have expected to be so dominant, like Russia, like Finland. Obviously not taking the wins just yet against those teams. Still more challenges to face going ahead, but I think this will be really one of the most competitive matches we've had so far in Incheon.
Absolutely, and of course, this again, where both teams, this is elimination, they need to go forward here. Otherwise, all they could do is play spoiler from here on out, but both these teams very much have a chance.
Yeah, fighting for their lives, as we said.
So, looking against this here, what are you most excited to see here? Is it seeing Depp perhaps on Ruins?
I want to see depth, but also Blue has impressed me as well. So that matchup is going to be really exciting, and not just on the Widowmaker. I'm convinced that as the series goes on, we're going to see the flexibility of these players. Widowmaker, of course, being a dominant hero in the current metagame, but there still is that need for flexibility. We've seen teams forcing the triple tank, forcing a more aggressive dive-based composition. So I think really anything goes here, and I think as we go the distance in this series, it's going to be about more than just the Widowmaker.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty back and forth all in all, where we've seen teams going into it, a lot of teams thought, oh, it's going to be a lot of 3-3, and then it's like, wait a second, Hammond is actually pretty viable. You can run this hero. You can still run double sniper, the deal with the 3-3, and at this point, it's not actually as much of a surprise anymore.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. This is what I hope this meta would be. A lot of swaps, a lot of counter compositions. We saw Finland even sometimes going back to spawn just to pick a better comp before taking the fight. So we've seen how important those compositional decisions are. I think it'll come into play really crucially here in this match.
All right, well, of course, taking a look here, I do think the first stage is going to be Lighthouse, and that's a stage, Jake, that can be a little bit more ground and pound, but you still have the ability to run a Pharah if you want.
Yeah, some teams have been favoring those Pharah Mercy compositions. Others, of course, focusing on tanks. Just get on that point and force your enemy to fight, as Fraggy did. So we're hoping to see a little bit of each of those. I like to see, personally, the non-mirror match.
So, as we look here at the Lighthouse, a look to Japan, it's going to be Amikin on the Pharah, Depp on the Widow, and you don't always see a Widow played here in the Lighthouse. It's kind of a thing that only teams that feel really good with their Widow will do it. You usually see McCree or a Tracer. What do you think about the Widow here on the stage?
I mean, the angles are really limited. You're pushed into these high ground positions as you normally want to play in Widowmaker, but they're not giving you the kind of overarching Widow angles that you're looking for. There's none of those extremely long angles, except, of course, looking onto point, but so much cover on point makes it very hard to threaten as a Widowmaker.
All right, meanwhile, look at the Chinese Taipei side. You got Blue on the Tracer. You got Shaolin on the Pharah. So Chinese Taipei, they'll still have a Pharah presence, but they're going to be a little bit more on the ground here, just in the face of Japan.
Yeah, if Depp can get a surprising pick on the combo, though, this could really set him up for mid. He's getting a chance. This is one.
Depp under pressure, immediately has to back out. Chinese Taipei, they did watch a little bit yesterday. They know you can't let Depp go unchecked. Meanwhile, Kenmo gonna fall really early here, so Depp, if he's gonna bring it back, he's gonna need to find something soon. Amikin, meanwhile, one shot, almost gets a second. Shaolin just barely able to get out of the fray. Meanwhile, though, Chinese Taipei has more people near the point. The point, of course, is unlocked. Neither team has committed onto it just yet. Chinese Taipei going to be throwing a few people there. Blue, though, falls. Depp connects. And Japan now moving their way back in. They might not get first control, but they certainly will be able to retake pretty quickly here.
Yeah, Depp taking a little bit of time to come online there, but finds the Mercy, the most important mech on the map. But OYO striking back. Maybe Chinese Taipei looking to regroup with their spawns and take another fight. 10-10 off the map, though.
Yeah, 10-10 immediately gone. And Japan, this is pretty good when you're running a Widow, right? Where Widow, now that you're actually holding the point, you have more room to find people on the defensive Widow.
Yeah, I mean, this is really up to Blue to shut down Depp. Of course, any Widowmaker, no matter how weak the position, is going to dominate if he's not under pressure. We saw early on mid, a Ting getting in his face, denying him those angles, but even that, he's still getting a chance, and I love this position from Depp. This is going to be really unexpected.
Yeah, he's sneaking here on the left side, not giving Chinese Taipei a good way of seeing where he is. Now, oh boy, he's going pretty deep here, looking for the counterpart on the other side. Blue gonna get out of it. Widow v Widow now on the side. Infosight up, gives Depp that little bit of extra edge. Now, not taking that. It's in fact gonna bend on further back. Those tanks are coming on in fast and furious. So Winston right in his face. Depp completely taken out by a tank.
Yeah, a tank completely shutting down Depp. Blue getting in Claire's face, finding the pickoff, and Amikin here coming back, trying to strike back into this round, but not enough.
All right, Chinese Taipei trying to get in. They got the early pick on the Depp, but right now, it's been okay for Japan to hold back. Blue gets the D-Mech, but again, you got to get people onto the point here where, all right, you're getting people on the outskirts, now throw bodies on the point, and Chinese Taipei, they're going to do that, but this was a decent delay coming in from Japan.
Yeah, I think they actually are going to swing this fight back. 10-10 going to cap the point, but the rest of his team not on the same page, caught up by the Winston elsewhere on the map, and you're not even getting the point capture. This is looking really grim for Chinese Taipei. Blue coming up in the infra site, this could be the way back into the map.
And you mentioned it's a way back in. How do you set things up with the infosight here?
Well, I mean, infosight is such a powerful ability because it enables everyone on your team to just have perfect awareness. They don't need to worry about anything. They know exactly what to expect. It really just gets you into mid, gets you around those Widow angles.
Meanwhile, we do have this back and forth here on the Pharah's Amikin. Looking for Shaolin on the other side. Now goes in deep, looks for OYO. Almost gets him, but not quite. Taken down. Overdove and punishes Blue. Gets 1, 2, and now this is what Chinese Taipei needs to get back in this point, especially with the Pharah Mercy down.
Blue finds a third, absolutely popping off here as Blue completely taking control of this Widow. We thought Depp would have a bit of an advantage, but Blue seems to have another idea about that one.
All right, well, Chinese Taipei, it's 99% for Japan, but they can actually hold and bring this back, but they have to be perfect here, and that's a challenge on Ultimate Economy.
Yeah, definitely double support ult, double tank ult coming in for Japan. This is going to be the real test right here. But if they can make this hold, things are going to start to look better for them. Blue taking a great position on the top of the lighthouse.
What Blue would really love to get here is that early pickoff on to Anakin on the other side. Of course, Depp would be even better. You have to worry about the other Widow. Sees the fire. Anakin takes it up close and personal and gets Blue down. Deals with his main threat. Kenmo those down early on. It's a 5-on-5 as we start up here. A Ting holding a little bit further back. Primal Rage up. He's going to be disruptive. He's going to be going for Depp. He pops a Primal and goes, you know what? There's his end in the corner and actually gets completely chunked. Has to back out. Depp was able to get the Mercy while that was going on, and Japan has played around this Primal Rage quite well.
Yeah, now Depp finally with the infraside of his own. Recontesting on an infraside is off the time suicide, but of course, Chinese Taipei has no choice. Japan at 99, looking to close out this round. Kenmo completely zoning out the backline. I don't think they're even going to be able to touch here.
Not going to be able to get back, and you think about what we saw here. This was probably the hardest map for Depp of anything else on Ilios, right? Where you think about the ruins, and you think about the well. I mean, well, it's kind of hit or miss, but there are some actually pretty sneaky spots on well near the top.
Yeah, and well, you know, is a little bit of a better hit scan map because the Fair is so common on that map. You know, you can, even if you're forced into a more passive position, you can still get value out of the Widow, and I'm interested to see whether either team goes for a tankier style on this map. Sometimes that Orisa Hog is favored. Right now, it looks like they're setting up for exactly the same as last round with that classic dive. Really, the matchup we need to see here on mid is if Blue is not going to start on that Widow and going to go for an off-mirror Tracer against the Widow, he has to be killing something. He has to be putting the pressure on early, because if Depp is allowed to take shots, he is going to find those heads.
Well, we'll see what Depp does here, but this is actually for real. Anakin flexes off the Pharah to a Hammond. We're going to get some real disruption here.
Yeah, this is amazing on a map like this. You know, that massive pit in the middle, such a major risk for something like a Zenyatta with no movement abilities to escape the knockoff.
Okay, Anakin right now holding to the left. Just going to be waiting for the rest of his team. And the key for Hammond here, you got to have that key coordination on the dive, but Claire's already gone, so Anakin going to try and make them both have a bad situation. Equalizes by getting OYO, but it's far too late. Chinese Taipei, they just dove in swiftly after that early pickoff.
I mean, this is exactly the kind of super fast pace you need when you're running a Tracer into the Widow. You cannot give her time, you know. Time is that essential resource that she needs. You know, every shot she gets to take is just a risk that you could lose a pick and end the fight before it begins. But Anakin spawn camping OYO again, staying deep in the backline, exactly how Hammond should be played.
Yeah, he just rolled all the way back and goes, you know what? I liked getting rid of Zenyatta. I'm going to do it again. Now, there's actually a decent shot here for Japan. You get Anakin, who can flank in directly from the back, fresh off the Zenyatta. The rest of Japan coming in from the front, but the front line of Chinese Taipei is still strong. Taiyo, Saba, out of the fight immediately. Blue trying to equalize, but this is still not too bad here for Chinese Taipei. Rez comes in, Blue holding on the other side. Pulse bomb, up. What's he going to use it on? Not going to use it on anything. Depp grabs him from the side.
Yeah, OYO elects to go onto the Lucio, something a little bit harder to catch for this Hammond. I like this reselection here.
Right now, though, this is a long fight, and that favors Chinese Taipei. Japan's been struggling to get back in, but this fight has been all over the place right now, and part of that is Anakin, who has just actually been all around. He's been disruptive, and Japan actually, in the melee, does manage to retake.
Yeah, they're going to get the retake here, but will they be able to take the fight win? Chinese Taipei already recapping. You know, you hate to lose 13% there, but it's not the end of the world. You maintain control, and still, with a lot of ults to work with, are Chinese Taipei.
All right, Chinese Taipei on the retake, still in a really good spot here. Japan, if they're going to make a move, they're going to have to do it soon, and they're going to have a good push with the Valkyrie.
Yeah, and we can see Depp here forced off of his favorite character. You know, wants the McCree, gives him a little more flexibility, a little more of an answer to that dive that's been putting so much pressure on him this far in this round.
All right, Japan on the way in. Minefield up for the Hammond. Sabagad in a little bit rough spot. Does get healed up this time. Valkyrie going to be invested. And now, here's where you learn the support ult. Self-destruct gets crazy S. And Japan now working at the man advantage. They're down with Diva, but otherwise still good. Anakin going to roll out a little bit away from the fight. Depp pushed back, moving back in, landing shot after shot. Japan is grinding their way back into the fight.
Yeah, and that all started with Taiyo winning the duel on his counterpart Blue. You know, taking out that opponent's Tracer, much like the Widow duel, leaves you with a lot of freedom. Really nobody left to chase you down with such a speed advantage on the map. Japan going to retake here. Depp on the McCree, I love the swap. It's really paying off here. Going to be able to get a little more value when he is dove. You know, at least he has a flashbang, he has that threat, and also the ability to roll away.
How good is a Hammond here when you're on the defense in terms of just setting up ambushes for the attackers coming in?
I mean, it's really going to be up to Taiyo and Kenmo to sort of follow up on those slams. You know, that slam is a perfect setup for a Tracer one clip or a Diva to just fly through and clean up those supports. So it's up to them to see if they can follow up.
Japan holding towards the inner side right now. Pulse one comes up, Tayo doesn't connect, but OYO got dove on the other end. Meanwhile, Tayo taking down Shaolin, gets a nice rocket. Chinese Taipei in the air, 2 kills from Shaolin, looking for a little bit more, but on the ground is still Depp. His Deadeye's up, it's high noon, but Shaolin gets up. Shaolin exploding with the barrage, and that's gonna be more than enough for Chinese Taipei to retake, and Japan might not even be able to get back here in time.
Yeah, it's looking grim for them. Of course, Hammond, one of the fastest characters in the game, just spawning so late, though. Tayo coming in for that last second touch, but he's going to die for the privilege.
All right, well, overtime almost ticks down. Still a little bit of hope here for Japan. Anakin able to roll back in, but the front line of his team going down. He almost gets knocked into the well. We'll see how long he can delay on the Hammond, but it's certainly not looking good for Japan here. Chinese Taipei, very firm control on the point, and overtime, it's going to go away, and we're going to be going to a round 3.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the Hammond on a map like well, you know, against a tankier composition with maybe more characters without movement abilities, you can get more of those knockoffs into the pit. But Chinese Taipei quickly realizing that the Zen is their core weakness, switching to the Lucio, and it really just felt like the Hammond fell off after that. He had no effective targets to go on, just wasn't getting the same value he got in those initial 2 fights.
Now, let me ask you this. You're Chinese Taipei, and you know Japan's game plan here is almost certainly going to be rely on the Widow to enhance the Widow. What do you do on Ruins if you want to play a strategy that doesn't involve a Widow yourself, or if you're getting out Widowed? What do you swap to? Like, how do you play this map when the Widow advantage isn't in your favor?
I mean, Widow Tracer is a great way to open. The Widow is just so strong on mid, you almost can't go without it, but switching to a Genji Tracer can be an effective way to recontest. But I like this comp that's coming out from Japan, a little bit unorthodox with the Lucio and the Brigitte, but that's going to give them a lot more staying power on the point and maybe put some pressure on to give depth free shots. Blue, of course, looking to win the duel.
Blue in the back line, gets a nice headshot onto the tank on the other side early on here to start that out, and that always delays the team a little bit where your tank gets chunked. It's like, okay, just wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just farming up that infra side. And really with no main healer on the side of Japan, those long-range headshots can be even more punishing on the tanks.
Well, Kenbo goes in a little bit deep, taken down early. Chinese Taipei now going back the other way. Japan looking for their early cap. They need to get someone on the point. They can't quite get there in time. A Ting couldn't cross the threshold, taken out by Saba. So even with the early pickoff, Chinese Taipei not able to capitalize. Depp in the skies, almost gets blue. And now it's just a matter for your Chinese Taipei. How do you grind this one back?
I mean, I just love this compositional selection here. You know Chinese Taipei doesn't want to run the Pharah anymore. They're forced onto the Tracer. But then you've got a Brigitte and a Lucio. There's really just no targets to dive. So this Tracer feels so ineffective.
Yeah, and I mean, the question is that, okay, do you want to go back to something and challenge Depp? Probably not, but the Brigitte just as good with those stuns to stop the flankers from doing what they want to do. And now Japan, as a result, up 30%.
Yeah, what I'm really impressed with here is Depp, despite having no mercy to pocket him and aid him with that damage boost, he's still up on the infra side. And it's going to be so impactful in this first fight.
Well, the infra side is up right now. Japan knows where Chinese Taipei is at all moments. Anakin, 78%. Rally going to come out here, so Japan feeling awfully healthy. A Ting down, and Kenmo goes, I'm just going to dive in even deeper. Japan seizes the opportunity, and they still have a lot of armor to spare.
Yeah, perfect rocket fail by Sabagod, knocking Winston into the corner just as he jumps. He can't escape and ends up just being a free kill to start that fight. And of course, with the perfect rally timing as well, so many characters with excess armor. Anakin is going to have such an easy time with this Dragon Blade, although OYO with the Transcendence ready to counterplay.
10-10 down, and Japan in firm control. Chinese Taipei, they only have 1 to 2 good pushes left here, and really they have to do something with the ults they have now. Infra sight up.
Yeah, I mean, an early pop in the infra site by Blue, I don't agree with this. 10-10's just coming out of spawn. They're still going to have to delay their push, lose a lot of that infra site timing. If you're Japan here, you can just give up the point without using ultimates and come back in for a major swing, so Chinese Taipei needs to get greedy.
Here comes Anakin, Blade coming out, immediately answered by the Transcendent, so this isn't going to get too much here. Anakin, though, finds a window on the back, slices him down, Blue's out of the fight. Nice redirection from Anakin, and Japan, they work around the Chinese Taipei initiation quite well indeed. 93% to them now, and Chinese Taipei, they have to go all in. They don't have a time to actually reset one more time.
Yeah, I mean, this is the final fight. They really can't give up the point here. Ting's going to pull out the Primal Rage, but just so hard to get value as a solo Winston.
Overtime starting to tick down. Chinese Taipei rolling onto a point. Japan cleaning them up as quick as they come on in, and there's just not enough time here. Japan, firm dominance on the point. The final members are going to be rolling in, but this is looking like Japan is going to be grabbing map 1. Last little diva to clean up there, knock her away. Overtime. It's over. Japan takes map 1.
Yeah, and with ult's despair there, I love this composition from Japan. So smart. This is what comes in when you're an experienced team. You're able to practice these niche strategies for specific situations. You get a read, okay, we know Chinese Taipei, they love that Pharah. They're not so confident on that Widow Tracer. They haven't been wanting to run it. Let's give them something that they just can't beat with that composition, you know. No dive targets for the Tracer. Chinese Taipei just felt lost in that round.
Well, and the cool thing, and you mentioned mid-match, right, is the idea of how they were using Brigitte in the composition, where I think players in general, they go, oh, we're going to use Brigitte, we're going to throw in a 3-3 and just go to the most obvious solution. This is a more interesting choice where they mix it up a little bit more than what we're used to seeing in Overwatch. They go, you know what, actually we're going to throw in the Brigitte, but not throw it in a normal tank-heavy setup. We just want her back here to make life a little bit harder if you're the run a Tracer or run a Genji.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Genji even adds that composition further because you're so hard to initiate on when you have the Lucio and the Brigitte. You know, that's such a risky composition to dive into. You could get booed from multiple sources, you know, just get peeled as a Winston. That's the worst feeling ever. But at the same time, you're just constantly being spammed by this Genji. He's not a Tracer. He doesn't need to get close. He's just farming up those Dragon Blades, ready to force your ult whenever you make a misstep. And it really paid off there for Japan.
So you're Chinese Taipei, you're thinking, okay, what map do we bring them to here? And knowing the scouting report where you go, okay, Japan, they feel really good about their Widow. You don't want to give Depp really good, favorable hit scan maps. Where do you bring them to?
This is a really tough choice. I mean, King's Row is the natural choice to force a tankier composition. Japan has been favoring the dive, so maybe bringing them to the tanks takes them out of their comfort zone. But I think maybe this Widow matchup is going to be a little bit less one-sided than previously thought. You know, we were thinking of Depp as this all-star, and he certainly really performed on Ilios, but certainly Blue had his number on Lighthouse. So really, I think this could go either way on map selection. You don't necessarily need to go to a map that is anti-Widow.
All right, well, let's see what that map is. The suspense no longer, and yep, it's going to be King's Row. So it's kind of to your point is that this is something where they can be a little bit more tanky and they can use sightlines to their advantage a bit more. And we've seen this a lot of teams here where we know if they kind of like running tankier options, King's Row has been a strong favorite.
Yeah, King's Row, you know, it's a very unique hybrid map. The other hybrid maps are all sort of do favor the dive. I mean, as most maps do, except maybe Eichenwald on points 1 and 3. But King's Row is sort of known for being tanky throughout. Some teams have broken that meta, you know, very strong on the dive, able to force that, even on a map like King's Row. But time and time again, we see how powerful Zarya and Ryan are on these enclosed spaces of King's Row.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, name a more iconic duo than Zarya Ryan on King's Row. It's something we've been seeing all the way back to the very beginning of the game, and it's actually been good that that's kind of come back into vogue in the last year of Overwatch or so, where there was a point where teams were just like, you know what, Winston Diva no matter what on all maps, and then people realized, wait, Reinhardt's actually an okay hero.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love about King's Row is that you get this first point where so many teams are, you know, favoring the Orisa, Junkrat, Widow composition, and I think of this composition as a real test of a team. It's quite simple to execute in a way. Obviously, there's still a lot of opportunities for high-skill players to, you know, make their skill known, like a Widow or a Junkrat, in the right positions, able to get value. But for the attacking team, attacking into that requires such precision and timing. You know, there's an element of distraction with the tanks. You need to pick the enemy apart because you can't really fight that Orisa head-on. So this is really a major test in my mind of how smart a team is at adapting to new situations, new compositions, reacting to the enemy's movement. You know, based on which window the enemy Widowmaker is peeking from, where the enemy Junkrat is standing, you have to approach the map in a totally different way. We've seen teams wrap all the way around with 3-3. We've seen them dive from the side as South Korea did. But it's really up to the team to decide how they want to approach that kind of really aggressive defensive composition.
Well, you mentioned the different defenses we see, right? Like the old school favorite back in the day was that you'd run a Junkrat, and then recently we see more Junkrat in time, but we also see teams run the Hanzos, you run the double snipers essentially, and then even sometimes teams will run dives, so there's multiple different flavors of defense on this map.
Yeah, I mean, first point is really open-ended. It's up to the team. You know, I think of it as at one point it was that Ryan Zarya only always, but now, I mean, it's really up to the creativity and the unique strength of the team. You know, give yourself your best heroes and make a composition that sort of works well, but also suits the map.
All right, well, team's going to be assembling their heroes here, and on the defense first, it's going to be Japan rolling out from the backhand side, and this will make you happy. Here we got Anakin coming out here on that defensive Junkrat.
Yeah, very interesting too. Sabagot on the Roadhog going for a single healer composition. Not something we see too often here on the defense. You know, it's going to make them a little bit more vulnerable to Shaolin's Dragon Blaze if he does commit to this Genji. Really no ways to save his own Mercy. But the Roadhog can always shut down that first push, give you that little ult snowball lead to give you a nice solid time hold even if you're not getting a full stack on first point.
Well, the interesting thing here, it also introduces the concept of protecting the president, or in this case, protect President Claire, where if your Mercy goes down, if your solo healer is out of the fight, you're just not going to be able to bring it back in most situations.
Yeah, and Depp not on the Widow here, so there's going to be no Widowmaker from the side of Japan on this defense. Not what we normally see on this map. You know, some of these sidelines are deceptively long on King's Row. Tayo missing the first shield. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him.
Yeah, that's one of those small, minor mechanical errors where it's just like, okay, is this going to be a big deal? And sometimes it actually could be. But it's going to be Chinese Taipei coming out here in the offense first. We'll see what Anakin can do on this Junkrat.
Well, this single healer might pay off massively, setting up perfectly for a triple tank composition. Really, the vulnerability of the single healer is to that aggressive Genji dive. Crazy S, though, setting up for a set nade bio.
We'll see if this works. Bionade going over. Is it going to connect? And so far, looks like it did not connect. The set nade, not quite where Japan might have been. And Chinese Taipei, they're going to take this a little bit slow. They're setting up in the hotel, and now they're going to roll over to the point. Heavy damage coming in, though. A Ting almost taken down early. Japan collapsing the halt. Nice coming out from Japan, and off that halt, they collapse, they dive, they get the first 3 pickoffs.
Yeah, Sabagot eventually caught out, going to farm a little bit of ultimate our Chinese Taipei here, but Anakin with the Riptire, this is so hard to push into. You really have no answers if you're Chinese Taipei. I mean, this next push might just be a wash. Sabagot getting so much value, killing that Reinhardt first with no shield to protect him. The 3-3 just falls apart.
This just feels like the Junkrat dream right now. Anakin gonna have the early Riptire up here, and Chinese Taipei, they've all booked a room in that hotel, but I gotta tell you, that hotel gets pretty explosive at nights. Difficult to sleep. Riptire coming over the top, looking for anything. Greedy, 30 HP. No, not gonna get the Reinhardt. A Ting healed back up. Chinese Taipei deals with it pretty well, but guess what? You got a Dragon coming back the other way, looking to split him off, but the Dragon also doesn't really accomplish much, and Chinese Taipei, though delayed, they've dealt with both ults.
Yeah, Depp finding Ana is going to stifle the push for a little bit. They really need that main healer back. But with the nano boost, if Blue is on high energy, a Ting though sneaking in from behind. Can he find a pin?
Oh, he went for it, but he gets chunked down. Not out of it yet. Depp, meanwhile, though, found OYO. The supports for Chinese Taipei getting decimated. And the problem there is that it felt like when your Ryan's going for the sneaky play, he's not shielding your team.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those plays that is kind of all in. If you don't get that pin, you are very rarely going to win the fight. Depp finding so much there. Really, Depp's been impressing me on the Hanzo. You know, we thought of him as more of a hit scan player. That was his focus, but, you know, showing that he can perform on the Hanzo just as well.
All right, well, the Chinese Taipei, they have an ace in the hole here. It's a Graviton with under 2 minutes left, but they're banking a lot on this.
Yeah, and sometimes this isn't enough. I mean, with the tanky composition, you don't have so much damage, so sometimes a Valkyrie is enough to just deal with that grab.
Well, self-destruct's gonna come in first. Is it gonna get anyone? No, not yet. That's a signal to go. Blue drops in the grab, picks up 2. That could be enough. They get rid of Anakin. They get Claire. There's no more healer left in this setup. Chinese Taipei off the grab from Blue, gonna easily move on to the point. Thick Japan, but it's still a pretty good defense coming out from Japan.
Yeah, and I love this choice by Sabagot. You know, plays a couple fights on the Roadhog, starts to realize, hey, maybe things are going to shift the other way. We know ults are coming from Chinese Taipei. He's already on the Zenyatta, already ready for that second point. It's so much stronger, you know, giving you a Transcendence, really that counterplay for the grab that they were lacking before.
Meanwhile, for Japan, let me ask you this. Not every team likes running Junkrat here in second. Obviously, I think you have the tire, you stay on it. What do you think about Junkrat here?
Personally, I love it. I mean, I think the Hanzo Junkrat have a lot of natural synergy. Sonic Arrow alerting you to the position of enemies allows you to bounce mines off walls in ways that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And at the same time, Riptire, of course, we said, so devastating with no hit scan on the enemy team to kill it.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, Riptire on its own, just very good for controlling ultimate economy, where you can just have one person using Riptire and delay. It's pretty good. Japan, they're not able to get away! The self-destruct still grabs 2! And as a result, Chinese Taipei catches Japan off guard. The tire for the Anakin only got 1, and this is a nice surge coming in from Chinese Taipei.
Perfect play by Shaolin, stunning the Rhine, making his shield drop just as the bomb desk. Not pushing the cart there for a little bit of a minor mistake from Chinese Taipei, but just a great fight from them, getting so much out of just one ultimate.
And I think what went in there too is that they enabled Shaolin to get that bash to set up the self-destruct. It was OYO speed boosting in, where it's just like, no, you're not getting away. You're gonna accept this shield, and here comes the bomb. But Depp, now back into the fight here for Japan. Japan does get one more opportunity to get back in. Dragon, lots of it was eaten! Dragon was eaten! Chinese Taipei with a great play from 10-10. Moving in, they force out the Transcendence. A Ting going in deep. Anakin blows himself up. And suddenly Chinese Taipei with a real opportunity to shock Japan here. Anakin brought back into the fight, but 10-10, can he get back out without losing the mech? Has he gotten demeched here? No, not quite yet. They pick off 2, and Chinese Taipei moving on in. The Earth Shatter, not enough.
Yeah, a Ting getting so much value here. The Graviton does come out from I think Tayo, but this is pretty questionable. So many left alive for Chinese Taipei. I don't think Japan's going to be able to hold this. Not at all. And now with a massive ult bank, Chinese Taipei looking to roll straight through third point.
And there's on a quick time, too. That's 3 minutes and 15 seconds. They've completely recovered from their malaise on point A.
Yeah, and Japan showing maybe a little bit of inexperience there, using both support ults at the same time. That's a real efficiency loss there. And now coming up against so many ults for Chinese Taipei, things are looking really grim. Japan going to the dive. They need to make something happen. They need to get a pick. They're not winning this fight straight up.
All right, Chinese Taipei, Graviton in tow. Here comes the Dragon from Depp. Is it going to do much? No. Chinese Taipei, they're able to sidestep. Graviton up. Is the fall through going to be there? Self-destruct over the top. Connects! Mercy, Farah out of the fight. Chinese Taipei now continuing the pressure here to Japan. This is looking very good.
Yeah, and with the nano boost ready. Oh, Depp finding the Ana though. This could be a big. Could set them up for a final contest here. They're definitely going to lose this fight, but maybe getting a last-second contest with no Ana. But then again, OYO with the sound barrier, ready to shut down anything. Amiken has to come up huge.
OYO's just ready to drop the beat. Amiken, can he even get out here in time? The payload almost getting to the very end. Beat, drop, Chinese Taipei feeling real tanky. Here comes a brush from Amiken. Not going to get anything, completely nullified. Chinese Taipei getting pickoff after pickoff. Dragon comes in from the right-hand side. Forces a little bit of movement. Japan fighting for their very lives right now. They just need a little bit more. Farah coming in over the top. Amiken looking for anything. Under pressure. Gonna fall. And Chinese Taipei, they push it on through.
Kenmo falling with Primal there at the last second. That's a critical error. They're going to be regretting that one.
Ooh, wow. Chinese Taipei surging at the very end where Japan looked cool, calm, and collected in the very beginning. But how quickly things unravel on a hybrid map where just a few team fights go against you and Japan was just struggling to recover.
Yeah, great understanding of the composition from Chinese Taipei, getting so aggressive with that break, always studying the Rhine, using that triple tank advantage. You know, you need to get in their face that Lucio. You need to run them over quickly. Of course, you can't deal with the long-term damage from a double DPS comp. You have to end things quick. And Chinese Taipei understanding that, they're constantly going in, and I love to see the smiles on their faces, starting to build a little bit of momentum. Weak first point push, but turning it into a great time here on Kings Row.
And, you know, just to kind of rewind a little bit to what might have been the turning point in the map, and it certainly appeared to me, and I'm curious what you thought, it kind of goes back to me in that play where Shaolin was able to get the stun to set up the self-destruct, just boosted on in, right? That was a key where they're able to sort of see an opportunity. They committed a lot into it. Like, that would have been a disaster in terms of wasting a self-destruct if it didn't work, but it did work.
Yeah, exactly, and it's the teamwork coming in from Chinese Taipei. We would have thought that Japan had the advantage on that end as a full team, you know, playing together in contenders for so long, but Chinese Taipei showing that they're ready to show up just as well.
All right, well, Japan not quite out of it here yet, even though Chinese Taipei has set a blisteringly fast time here in Kings Row with a little under 2 minutes left in their bank. Japan certainly can bring this back and more. We've seen teams set quicker times here. Now you take a look at their offense. They're going to be running here with a standard Farah Widow setup, and the rest can be more towards a dive.
Yeah, we see this a lot, but Blue is ready to threaten these angles. Amiken, I like this, switching over to the Genji. Farah can be a little risky. You know, you don't always know where the Widow's going to be at. It's up to Amiken really to get a ton of flanking value here. He needs to farm a Dragon Blade before OYO comes with the Transcendence.
My question here is, who's going to deal with the Junkrat on Chinese Taipei?
It has to be Depp or Sabagod finding those early picks. You know, Junkrat, of course, so strong, just playing around those corners, never giving you an angle. We'll see how Shaolin chooses to play this.
All right, Japan. Depp going to be going up the alley here to start things off. Gives him the early high ground, but going to be staring down Arisa Shield. Now, Amiken just gets dunked by Junkrat in the very beginning. Concussive mind, but ooh, OYO. Out, Depp strikes, looking for the win on the other side. That would have been huge. Doesn't quite get it. Resurrection going to come back up, but Depp already threatening. Chinese Taipei, though, still strong.
Yeah, Amiken falling to a trap there, nicely placed by Shaolin. Kenmo dropping very low on point. He's got no resources left. Blue takes him out.
Early pickoff, Kenmo down. Chinese Taipei now a little bit wounded in the fight. Not going to be able to resurrect up anytime soon. Claire out of it. But as both teams trade out, this isn't too bad here for Japan on their attack. They're going to get the respawn itch here in just a moment. But Shaolin with the Riptire looking about to get that, looking a little dangerous.
Yeah, Depp's been playing these angles so intelligently and aggressively here. Such low HP, doesn't care at all. Probably begging for healing in the comps right now.
Shaolin, meanwhile, so close to the Riptire, picks it up now. Just needs to get a little bit of space. Tayo out of the mech, and he immediately goes for the tire. Chases down Amiken, takes him down, gets the guaranteed kill, doesn't play around. And even though Depp was able to get Blue on the other side, it's one pickoff. It's a little bit later in the fight. Oh, he got OYO. Okay, Depp has now done critical damage.
Depp's in the long angle, but Blue shuts him down after the res. Great recontest there. If he loses that duel, things could go very bad here on first.
Now Japan in trying to attack here. They've done damage, but Chinese Taipei still might be able to get back in. You're going to see the Infosight come back up here. Let's Blue go for a key pick off in the back once more. Doesn't quite have the angle. Meanwhile, Shaolin going to have to reposition. While he's repositioning, Japan is on the point. Anakin close to the blade.
Self-destruct coming in, doesn't look like it's going to find anybody. Nice dodge by Claire. The heals coming in for Japan. This is going to be a lot to deal with.
All right, meanwhile, Transcendence out. Anakin says, now it's time to go. Time to cut through some tanks. Deals with the supercharger, but otherwise gets a little bit juked, but still able to find Diva on top. Makes another to Blue, and that should be enough for Japan to get going. But really, this was a long defense by Chinese Taipei, and quite good at that.
Yeah, a resurrection on OYO is going to bring that Transcendence out, but it looks like a little bit of a waste here. Anakin already getting so much with that blade. Doesn't really care about the Transcendence, just chases down the Mercy regardless.
All right, well, that's going to be point A to Japan, and really, both teams showing strong defenses here. The turning point, though, could be how point B is played, where Japan's going to have to be just as quick as Chinese Taipei was in getting through the streets.
Yeah, and things are looking a little more grim for Shaolin. Chooses to stay on the Junkrat, wants to get value out of his Riptire, but that can be so hard against a dive composition, as we see out of Japan.
Japan right now, just biding their time. Depth looking for some early headshots. Meanwhile, Shaolin, time to let the tire rip. This is where you can get a good bit of stability. Finds Anakin, runs him right over on the right side, and now you look at the position coming out. Once you get that early pickup, teams become way more aggressive.
Yeah, and Anakin off on his own there, but Depp doesn't care, striking back. Both tanks moving aggressively, but not getting any value out of it. The self-destruct finds crazy, yes. This could be big for Japan.
Japan right now struggling to find a way through. They might have found it here. They're going in pretty aggressively. Are they going to be able to fish off a Ting? They do. Kenmo chases him on down, but Kenmo also gives his life for it, so both teams down to Winston, 10-10, just buying time on the payload, and even though this is going the way of Japan, Chinese Taipei is buying more time on second than Japan did.
Yeah, definitely things are hotly contested here, but Japan still looking to close this map out, can force an overtime round here. There we saw how important it is not to waste those shift abilities on the tanks there. We see a Ting and 10-10 moving in, getting no value, and their whole team getting completely punished for their misplay.
All right, Japan, this is a fight they need to win if they want to have a chance of a competitive time. Chinese Taipei with options here. A good self-destruct might be enough. Japan right now, just setting the stage. Anakin in the back, close to a blade. They're trying to force Chinese Taipei as far back as possible. Shaolin is down. That's what they needed. Kenmo, though, gives his life. 5-on-5. Anakin probably going to have to invest the blade here. Dev picks off another as Anakin continues to hold. Dragon Blade in, grabs two. Anakin not done yet. Goes for the Mercy in the back, takes her head right off. And Japan getting all they need to get through point B.
Yeah, a little bit of misplay there from OYO, dropping that Transcendence prior to Anakin's blade. He needs to be ready for that. That's the only ult they have to counterplay. Shaolin staying on the Junkrat, I can't agree with it. It doesn't feel like he's getting any value. That's part of the reason why it's so hard for a Ting and 10-10 to get value with their jumps. They don't have a DPS to follow it up.
I just need to be clear, you said he needs to swap off Junkrat.
I'm sorry, I know it's sacrilege, but I gotta say it, it's true.
Okay, well, he's gonna get one parting Riptire if he does decide to swap after. Riptire moving in, already taking a bit of damage, loops around, Depth finds it! Now Shaolin, are you gonna swap? We're gonna find out soon. Japan, though, getting stymied. A Ting knocks out two, and that should be enough for Chinese Taipei again to get a little bit of stabilization. And Jake, I gotta tell you, Shaolin heard you. He swapped to the Genji.
Yeah, this decision's a lot better. You know, it's just so hard to get anything with a Riptire with so many mobile characters in the enemy team. It's hard to chase them down without, as he did, you know, walking through those sidelines of depth.
All right, Japan.
Ting, though, setting up a major flank, though. Chinese Taipei looking to get really aggressive, maybe ameliorate this ultimate disadvantage.
Yeah, this is old school Miro style being that far back. Kenmo already out of the fight, so a Ting now not gonna have many people to challenge him as he continues to cleave the backline. He's gonna fall, and yet Chinese Taipei, they get enough space here that might be okay. They have to be careful, though, not to get any others picked off, but Anakin down. Blue doing some serious work.
Yeah, Blue coming up big on the Widowmaker with that Infosight ready and waiting. Will he use it here? I don't think so. It looks like maybe even a little bit of over-aggression from Kenmo. Caught out without his bubble.
Japan, 2 minutes, 11 seconds left. Chinese Taipei almost certainly going to have a quicker time here, but Anakin with the blade, that's something that can open things right on up. Self-destruct coming in from Japan. Tayo doesn't get anything. Anakin still holding on to the blade. No, he actually got the mech. That's good. Anakin says, I want more. Blade out. Goes to the skies. Gets Blue. Looking for one more on the Mercy, but the Transcend stops his spree right then and there. And yet Japan still pressuring. And you see what they're doing right now, where they're continuing to push Taipei back.
Yeah, Dev finds OYO after the Transcendence, takes a Ting as well. Looking for Blue, finds a third, looking for a fourth. Can he get it? No, Diva retreats into spawn. She doesn't want any of Dev's accuracy.
Dev has so much room to work with. There, Shaolin is down. He was the only threat to Dev. Dev now can continue continue the rain in the shots.
Depp's
It's
watching
do
the spawn.
or die. He's on the spawn. Japan just needs a little bit more. Emergency Hammond coming out to the field, but that ball not going to be lasting for too much longer. Although, surprisingly, it's been enough. Shaolin actually gets back to the fight. Blade out, but it's met by the Transcendence. Japan has tools to keep up the pressure. They deal with the Blade and Genji. Depp still uncontested on the top. Hasn't gotten a pick in a while though, and that's been one reason why Chinese Taipei might be able to get back in. They're able to pick off Claire. Japan still struggling on the point. Primal Rage from Kenmo trying to get rid of the Hammond, who continues to swing around. A Ting has bought so much time here, but will it be enough?
I don't think so. The Blade coming out, maybe putting a period on this round, but that Hamster getting an absolutely incredible delay there on last, making that fight last way longer than it should have. Depp, though, absolutely lighting up the kill feed. That's not something you see every day. That's an impressive Widowmaker.
Depp was just able to get that last little bit of cleanup leading into the final fight, and that actually could have been over much quicker in most circumstances. So bravo the Chinese Taipei and the Ting to actually make the Hammond work that long. Oftentimes you see a Hammond loop on in, he just gets blown up immediately. Wasn't the case there.
Yeah, I also want to appreciate that initial blade to start the fight from Anakin. He forces the trance instantly. Of course, OYO making the right decision there, but then finds a Widow still. So he's getting an ultimate and a kill with it, which is a major positive trade.
Of course, this is some of Depp's finest here, where just when Chinese Taipei thinks, you know what, we can recover a little bit, Depp goes, nah, why didn't you go visit your spawn one more time?
Yeah, I love that by Depp getting right up in the spawn there at the end, just asserting his dominance. You know, sometimes that can have a real effect on momentum. You don't like to see a Widowmaker killing you in the spawn.
Now, to be clear, going into the next round, Chinese Taipei, they are ahead. They have about a lead of 1:12, but let me ask you, given how King's Row works with once you get first point, the payload can move quite a while, is this a significant advantage going in? How do you usually see this sort of situation?
Personally, I don't think it's too important on a map like King's Row, but what it can mean is that an initial pick from Blue on the defense could completely end Japan's chances of taking a win here, give them a best chance at a draw. So it's really on Blue here to shut this push down. He can end things before they begin with that 1 minute clock.
Well, the 1 minute for Japan has already started, down to 50 seconds. And we'll see just how swift they are here. Usually you want to be pretty quick so you can guarantee 2 attempts. Depp now on the Tracer, so not going for the Widow, where it might be a little bit of a time before you get the first pick off. Instead, going to the Tracer, which is a little bit more explosive, diving way deep, 12 HP, barely able to rewind in time, but Anakin was able to get OYO. The distraction actually works out okay, but the problem is they're unable to deny the res. Chinese Taipei still in a good spot here, even as Japan dives, only 20 seconds left.
Yeah, a Ting using the Fortify, so hard to get him off this point. Kills falling in the kill feed here. Blue finding Claire, that's a major pick to open this fight, and of course, no Widowmaker to contest him. He's free firing from the high ground.
OYO continues to get pick after pick on the top. Shaolin, 68% in good spirits, 5 seconds left. Japan running out of time here. We'll see what they can do. They've already gotten a tick, so that we likely will not be in a draw situation. Overtime. On the way over, can they touch one time? Depp gets blown away! Shaolin stops him from getting that last second recontest. What a concussive mind to do that in the moment.
Yeah, Japan not able to make that dive work on first point, but as you said, you know, getting 1 tick, sometimes that's all you need. 39% can be a mountain unclimbable for Chinese Taipei if Japan holds strong in the defense. We saw how long it took Chinese Taipei to break the defense the first time, so maybe recreating that effectiveness. Let's see what Sabagat decides to do. I think that'll be really interesting. Will he come out on the triple tank, or will he play a more classic Zenyatta?
It'll be interesting for sure. And one thing to note here again is the idea of victory conditions, right? Where Japan still did enough to give themselves a reasonable shot of winning the map, 39.1%. Obviously, they would have liked to have gotten the payload moving, gone for that very, very long, undefined overtime push. Didn't quite happen here, and yet you think about both teams' initial defenses, this is still quite winnable.
Yeah, certainly if Chinese Taipei can't find the cap here, they're going to be really kicking themselves. It looked like that fight was so clean for them, but just a little bit of missed awareness, not getting on the point in time to stop the tick.
All right, Chinese Taipei, we'll see what they have here. They have within their power the ability to even up the series 1-1 going into the half, and that certainly make things rather spicy here. Looking at Japan on the defense, though, you got Anakin on the Junkrat here once more, and he's not going to the hotel, he's going beyond the Orisa.
Interesting though, Shaolin on the Pharah could get a lot of value. Depp off the Widowmaker, there's no hit scan to contest a Pharah. She could put a ton of pressure on, and she's already knocked Tayo to the low ground. This really messes up the defense.
Shaolin coming on in, Rockets connecting, 23% already. This is not what you want early on for an Orisa fueled defense. Shaolin for a little bit more. Shooting through the small little gap. Diva already almost steam back. Shaolin continuing the rain in rockets. This is just escalating. Quite poorly for Japan as Anakin's picked off.
Shaolin getting so much value here. Depp has to shut him down. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to stop him.
This is looking so good for Chinese Taipei right now. They only need a little bit more. Japan is round. The barrage connects. Takes down another two. Shaolin has blown apart the defense of Japan. And Chinese Taipei, they're going to grab the point. They even up the series 1-1.
Yeah, tying it up there are Chinese Taipei. Great understanding there. They saw Debra and the Hanzo last round, punishing with that Pharah, and of course with no answers, Shaolin with such a quick barrage, putting a period on things on King's Row.
Well, guys, we knew that this match could be close. Two dark horses racing against each other. Now at the half, it is 1-1. And this is kind of what we thought could happen here. And man, it's been great to watch.
Japan's strongest map type, of course, was Seoul versus Russia, so maybe this is going to be a tough time for them to come back in the series, but they do get the map pick, maybe a time to equalize, bring things back. You know, as a full team, they certainly have their favorite maps, they have their favorite positions to play.
Now, of course, we talked a little bit about Depp and how he's been playing on the Widowmaker. What do you think of the adjustments that came out from Chinese Taipei to sort of mitigate his impact over the course of the series?
Personally, I was just surprised to see him come out on the Hanzo again on defense, but Shaolin recognizing that and instantly punishing, already prepared on the Pharah pick, not showing in spawn, but instantly comes out and just gets so much value, knocking Tayo down at the start. I mean, even though they don't find any initial kills from that, you saw how disjointed Japan looked after that moment. They really never got a chance to regroup. No one felt comfortable playing that shield with the Orisa knocked to the low ground. That was just a major play from Shaolin.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Orisa fortifying, and it's actually quite difficult to get her off that spot, but if you can have an early opening setup like Shaolin did there, where you're able to get her out of position, how hard is it for defense to actually recover from that?
You know, it's all about the quick moments there when you're playing that dive composition. You have a little window of opportunity. If you move that Orisa out of position, even just a little bit, knocking her to the low ground, that's like a 5 or 6 second reset for the defense. And in that time, we saw the offense get so aggressive. Shaolin was right over their head, just raining rockets into the hallway. And if Depp can't find the counter kill there, there's really no one left to stop Shaolin's reign of terror.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the far dream that we saw getting lived on there, and also a testament to how much you can actually play in this meta, where not every team decides to do that. But we're going to be throwing off to an interview. Let's check it out.
Okay, so I'm with Shaolin of the Chinese Taipei team here. Big win just now against Japan. Now we're all tied up into Series 1-1. I'm joined by the DPS player of this squad, Shaolin, and of course our amazing translator, Jing. So, wanted to ask, coming into the matchup, were you nervous about going up against Japan? This is a full team. Did he feel confident in the matchup?
你知道现在你对打的日本队是 Cyclops 嘛，对不对？那我当然知道你有跟他有打过经验，那你对上他们会紧张吗？
是还好，因为以前就打过了，所以还好。
They feel pretty confident because they play with Cyclops before in contenders. So yeah, to him just like it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just another matchup for this guy right here. Okay, so now looking forward here, this will be Japan's pick, as they were the losers of that last game. What does he think that they're going to pick for Game 3? And does he think that it even matters because this squad's feeling good and they're going to get a win?
因为接下来刚刚日本输了前一个地图分嘛，对不对？所以是日本会选下一张地图。那你觉得日本会选哪一张图？而且你会不会紧张？然后你还是很有自信。
选什么图应该是他们选什么就打什么吧。然后紧张的话是还好。
So it doesn't matter what they pick. Fairly confident. So whatever they pick, we're just gonna win anyway. So
whatever they pick, they're just going to win anyway. I like that. I like that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Shaolin. Really appreciate it. Jing, is always a pleasure. And that is going to do it for us here. But we're going to go to a break. When we come back, the conclusion of this series.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC of the Overwatch World Cup.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
The race is on here in Incheon as Chinese Taipei has evened things up here against Japan, and no small part due to the great play coming out from Anakin.
Yeah, definitely great stuff on the side of Anakin. It wasn't enough to take that map King's Row, but I love the adaptations coming in from Chinese Taipei. We saw that niche composition to win Ilios for Japan, but Chinese Taipei proving that they're able to adapt just as well.
And it was both Anakin and Shaolin that made a note there, but you want to talk about stats here. Anakin came in on the Genji, and it was pretty interesting what he was able to do. We're going to take a little bit of a look at that here. 8 Dragon Blade kills over the course of it, and quite a bit of hero damage to boot.
Yeah, getting so much value here, and we see that low death stat. That just shows that he's constantly farming these ultimates. You know, dying, of course, really shuts you down, slows down the progress on those Dragon Blades, and getting so much value when he used them. We saw the great teamwork from all of Japan to force OYO's Transcendences early, and then Anakin with the great timing, coming in with the blade just as the Transcendence is closing, able to just clean up kills.
Yep. And, of course, you think about what we've been seeing here from both teams. It's been pretty solid, but it's going to be curious to see where we go to next. Of course, it's going to be Japan's map pick coming in for map number 3. And where do you think we're going to be going here? Where Japan, they like empowering depth as much as possible. Where do you think we're going to go?
Well, when it comes to Assault Widowmaker maps, you don't really get much better than Temple of Anubis. That first point has stopped many a strong team, and sometimes it's just impossible to break that Orisa defense. So that's up to Japan to give a real challenge to Chinese Taipei. That'll be my guess in their selection.
Well, speaking of maps, let's see what that selection is going to be. And it's Temple of Anubis, so you got it. Big brain.
Well, I think it'll make a lot of sense here. Definitely a map where you're not going to be seeing that Hanzo Junkrat. I'd be really shocked to see Depp off the Widowmaker on defense. I think that'll give them a little more flexibility. To be honest, it felt like they were really caught off guard by the Pharah pick from Chinese Taipei on that final offensive King's Row. So maybe send Depp back to the Widow, put him back on his strong suit, and give him the chance to just dominate that duel.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just get completely bamboozled by a Pharah one time. It's like, you know what? We actually have an answer for this. It's a good Widow player. We'll commit to this a little bit more. But if you're going to be committing to the Widow to deal with the Pharah, you leave open the ability to get punished perhaps by a heavier dive, get punished by a Genji. So it's constant swapping coming out from both teams.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where the adaptations go on this map. But of course, this is Japan's map pick. They're going to be wanting to take this, of course, pushing Chinese Taipei so close to the limit on their map pick. You need to be winning on your own. You know, set the stage, end this at a 3-1. Don't let it go to a map 5.
Now, one thing that's worth noting here, of course, is that all maps are open here in this pool, so truly teams do get to choose what their favorite map is here. It's not just favorite map within the context of the pool. It's like, no. Of all Assault maps, Japan wanted to go here to Anubis.
And you have to think that wide open map pool is really going to be a tool in Japan's arsenal here, that they've, you know, practiced so many maps as a full team. You know, they're not sort of limited by most World Cup teams, limited practice time, only coming together for a few weeks before the tournament. Japan has played all of these maps. They know what to expect. They know what to run. And Temple of Anubis, a map very heavy on adaptation. First point and second point can, you know, often just completely stall pushes. We don't see very high score lines very often on Temple of Anubis.
No, and I mean, it's so difficult to get through point B where teams are good at stalling, and there's so many ways to stall. You even have heroes like Hammond now, right? Where, okay, Sombra might not be the best emergency pick, but you throw in a hamster and you have 6 people on point, suddenly gets a bunch of shields. It buys you even more time. So a new wrinkle in trying to get through a point B is certainly on Anubis, where the spawn is just about right there.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of emergency Doomfist as well on this map, so I'm really excited to see what the flexibility pools are, especially of these flex DPS players. You know, which kind of characters are they ready to pull out? Maybe the Mei, the Doom, the Tracer, you know, there's a lot of options here on Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, is this actually going to happen? I feel like this is just to get people out a little bit quicker, get some nice ups. Yeah, okay, the Symmetra's already gone. It would have been great to see, but I just don't think we're that lucky.
I don't think it's a good pick, so I'm glad Chinese Taipei is making the selection they are. Making a slight change from what we normally see in this Orisa composition. OYO on the Brigitte instead of the traditional Zenyatta. That's going to make them a little stronger in that first fight, able to shut down, send back the divers. But if Anakin can get a Dragon Blade, there's no Transcendence in his way anymore. You know, we saw him get a lot of value despite the Transcendence, but now with absolutely nothing to worry about, he's going to go very aggressive with that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing here is that you just don't run the OYO with the Brigitte, right? You get away from the shield bash, or at the very least you wait till it's on cooldown and then you go on it.
Yeah, this is going to be very much on blue to win the Widowmaker duel against Depp. If Depp can find the opening picks here, this is going to go very quickly.
All right, we'll see how this Widow battle works out. Blue on the Chinese Taipei side, and Depp for Team Japan. And Blue, he's taking a very specific angle here where he's hoping and praying that people go to the side, but Anakin already down. Shaolin on the Junkrat, going to be striking quite early.
Great trap setup there. Finds him Blue taking a page out of card base, but both supports on Japan's side dropping very low. They're going to have to heal each other. Need to get out of that small engagement.
Chinese Taipei holding a little bit further back. Dive coming in from Japan. They're going to seize the opportunity here. Claire almost got picked off, was able to get out of danger. Depth under pressure. Kenmo gonna fall. 10-10 able to deal with that. And look at this early tire coming from Shaolin. Going the other side, gets Saba. And Chinese Taipei, excellent break back there. And then the re-engage.
Tire up so quickly for Shaolin. That's exactly what you need to be doing on Junkrat to defend Temple of Anubis. Ending that first push before it really began. Not much ults able to be farmed by Japan. They need this Dragon Blade a lot quicker than they're getting it.
You know, you talked to me a little bit before about how this is one of the best defense points for a Junkrat to be sneaky. What can you do here as a Junkrat above and beyond other maps?
I mean, part of the struggle is that there's so many blind corners that you have to sort of worry about that Widowmaker while crossing, that a trap is sort of the least of your concerns.
All right, well, the engage is going to be coming in here from Japan. Blue's going to be holding a little bit further back. Under pressure, under HP, gets healed up in the middle of it, dives back the other way. Now decides to be more battle focused, but Japan, they've already taken down two. Anakin, close to a blade, looking for the mercy, but can't commit. Still, you look at the overall course of battle. Japan has sort of flanked in on all sides. Anakin now going to dive in once more. It's too much support. Japan takes the point, and the more important part here, look at the ultimates they have built for point B.
Great movement by Anakin, unspotted there behind. I thought they knew he was there, but getting so much value coming in just as his whole team came from the front, farming a ton of Dragon Blade, ready to assault this second point with the Valk Dragon Blade. If Crazy S can fall here to this Dragon Blade from Anakin, things will be looking very bad for Chinese Taipei.
And you're Genji right now, you don't have to worry about a Transcendence to come up here, as you were mentioning earlier, so Anakin to a degree can live the dream. He's going to go on in, the blade is out, looking for the Brigida, takes down OYO, the threat is over, dodges the self-destruct, looks for his counterpart, slices him down. Japan with an excellent engagement here, and now they just need a little more.
Anakin slicing and dicing on the point. Crazy Ass running for safety, but Depth chasing him all the way home. Can't find the finish.
Depth, though, he's done enough. He's able to force him off the point. Japan already with 2 ticks. This is a lightning fast strike coming in, and Chinese Taipei struggling to answer. OYO back on the point. Drops the rally, just barely in it. Japan, though, yet to give up a single person here on the point. Transcend coming up. Going to be keeping everyone nice and healthy. Hammond now in play here for Chinese Taipei, but it might be too little, too late.
Great understanding from Japan here. They're not focusing this Hammond. They're completely ignoring him, taking out the rest of his team, and now they're going to take him on all at once.
Really nice stuff. Japan only so close right now. Just needs a little bit more. 96.9%, 100. Anakin getting a blade to end the fight, and that was picture perfect for Japan after one rough start on point A.
Not finding enough value out of the Widowmaker is Depp, makes that swap to Tracer, shows that he is a flexible player, ready to make those hit scan swaps, and comes up so big there, making a major distraction. Anakin completely capitalizing on it. Just great movement there, and showing why the Brigida is so weak against the Dragon Blade. You're so strong in those initial engagements before the ults come out, but once the blade comes in, you can see Anakin just sitting above the Brigida's head, chopping her down. The first kill giving him the dash reset, and he just snowballs from there.
Out of curiosity, do you think that there's been sort of an evolution of Genji play versus Brigida, where in the beginning we saw a lot more Dragon Blade just getting punished by Brigidas in the back, right? And now it feels like Genjis have evolved, where they go, wait, I can still go into the sky. You can't do that.
I think part of the struggle of Genji when Brigitte initially launched was that she was so often in the triple support composition alongside Mercy and Zenyatta. So you had that Transcendence on top of an armor stack, and that was when you saw Genji's just chopping to no avail, just putting out so much damage, but just not able to get through an armor or even sometimes force a Transcendence. But running the OYO on the Brigitte with no Zenyatta by his side, he doesn't have that more support capability. He doesn't have that ability to just stack heals to deny Japan's Dragon Blade.
All right, well, Japan, they're going to be coming out here in the defense, same as before. We use the Symmetra for a little bit of early positioning, and then you send the Symmetra back on over. Support in the sense where you have her in the very beginning, and then she goes away. No team's willing to be too experimental yet, but for Japan's defense, we do see a Sombra coming out.
A very different use, actually, of the teleporter there from the Symmetra. Instead of just rolling out very quickly using that additional speed closer, or gap closer, they're actually going to the high ground, sending Ana and Brigitte to the high ground, a position that they can't traditionally take without that ability.
We'll see how this works out. Obviously, what you have here is that Brigida holding the shield. She can protect the Ana and let the Ana actually challenge the Widow on the other side, so if it's needed.
Anakin on the Sombra getting a complete scout. He knows everything. He's going to relay all this information to Sabagod so that he can pop out at the perfect time for a Bionade.
Meanwhile, he's going to be looking for the hack. Immediately hacks 10-10. The dive comes on in, and it's a quick D-Mech. Good coordination coming out from Japan there to punish Chinese Taipei.
great map understanding there. That's a great set start from Japan, showing their dominance on this map of their choice.
Now you look to the back here, you got Sabagan hanging on where, okay, well, what is going on here? A Ting might need rescue here, and this is Japan just looking to the back going, okay, you're back here. Now, they can't get too distracted, otherwise Chinese Taipei will come straight in from the front.
Yeah, this is the power of a dive composition. You're able to sort of get around the map, surround your enemies. Winston on the high ground, attacking both healers at once. Can they save each other?
We'll see. Right now, I think they're focused on the Diva. Anakin going down. Again, looking for 10-10 after the hack. They get the early DMAC. Meanwhile, the rest of Japan is pretty good as Kenmo continues to cleave people as they're diving in the point, getting so much value off that Tesla cannon, and he's not done yet. Gonna be going a little bit deeper. And Japan wisely, I think, gonna... are they getting back off? Just Anakin. Scout it.
Oh, maybe
wait,
more.
no, not
Looks to
just
finish.
scouting.
OYO can't get the kill, but putting on a lot of pressure there. Getting so much value out of this Sombra. Of course, those hacked packs don't give you ult charge anymore, but they can save your teammates in crucial moments.
All right, and now a big thing coming up here is going to be Anakin with the EMP. Chinese Taipei, do they have any way around this? We're going to find out in just a moment as Kenmo gets blue, the Nano Boost comes in, and that means they can save the EMP.
Great usage of the Nano Boost there. Just gets one pick, but that's all you need to end the fight. Now, getting a ton of heals is Sabagod, getting closer to that Nano Boost again. Now you have 2 tank ults. You're going to have even more time for Sabagod to get an additional Nano. This is perfect ultimate cycling.
What goes through your mind as a Genji when you know there's an EMP out? Do you, oh, okay, well, it immediately goes out, gets OYO. I guess he doesn't have to worry about it, but the problem is they're delayed again.
Yeah, just not much time to think about anything there.
That is difficult when your Zen just gets removed from the fight immediately, and Japan, they're just having very firm control here so far.
And here's we'll see a real true test of understanding here. OYO still not having the Transcendence after such a long fight. Does Deb know that he has an unopposed Dragon Blade? Maybe he'll just wait for the Nano Boost, go for those clean one-shots.
You see the dive coming in. Anakin immediately breaks stealth because he wants to go for OYO. Wasn't quite as clean as that, though. Kenmo wasn't able to get the knockback he was looking for, so has to back on out. And Primal, arguably a little bit wasted, but Deb goes in. It's a Nano Blade. Japan engaging even deeper. Gets the Widow right on in. Depth with 2. Ends up falling, though. A counter blade from Chinese Taipei. And Japan, they might have dove a little bit too deeply there. And here comes a Ting.
Shaolin winning the blade duel, able to capitalize here. No one to really stop him from just cleaving up the enemies. This looks like a potential first point take for Chinese Taipei.
Oh man, Japan was so aggressive. They were getting so much mileage off that aggression for too long, but what do you feel as a team when you just go a little bit too deep and throw it away like they did there? Because it felt like Japan didn't have to do that.
I mean, generally at that point in the game, 2 minutes already elapsed, you're going to assume that OYO has the Transcendence, but he didn't quite there, so they were doing so much to force a Transcendence that he just didn't have.
It's kind of one of those things where you've almost mind-gamed yourself at that point.
Yeah, pretty hard to know, though. I mean, even when you're destroying a Zenyatta, usually you would expect him to have a Transcendence before that.
He's like, you've destroyed me too hard. I don't have anything. You've taken all my money. Grab your lunch money from some other kid.
Blair still with the rally, though. I like this decision not to use it preemptively. Anakin finds OYO. This fight could be over before it begins.
Yeah, Japan, they get the really early pickoff coming in here. Blues out of it immediately. And Chinese Taipei just not going to be able to get done. And oh, okay, Japan's going deeper again. They have to go deeper. They feel it in their bones. They continue to dive on in. A Ting is out of there. Claire just can't stop swinging the rocket flail. And finally, they've regained the use of their S keys as they decide to back on out.
Japan going back to a strategy that we've seen a long time ago on Temple of Anubis. This Sombra hacking the Mega below the bridge on point can be so impactful, but Anakin now with the EMP, ready to perfectly scout and set up a dive here. He knows exactly where OYO is.
Yeah, it's a bad day to be a Zenyatta, especially if he's going to be going for me. No, he goes for the value, goes for the entire team instead, doesn't go for the Zenyatta. Japan dives on in, but look at that. OYO was in the blast zone. He was able to transcend to put an end to it to a degree. Japan again, over dive, Step is out of it. Now here comes Chinese Taipei. OYO set them up quite well. Stun comes in, Shaolin doesn't care. Blade out, 1, 2, Chinese Taipei now moving their way back in.
Using everything on Chinese Taipei, they only have a Primal Rage left. Dep coming out with this Dragon Blade needs to turn things around with the Nano Boost.
This is looking real good for Chinese Taipei. We'll see how that Nano ends up going. Nano Boost has been invested. Anakin diving on in. Here's Dep though, it's a Nano Blade, gets 1, stunned, out, but it was enough as Kenmo, he just continually goes deep. Doesn't matter, OYO goes, why have you done this? Was this even necessary at this point?
Well, it's a great play there because we see Dep getting that initial pick on the Mercy. Kenmo's completely zoning out the Zenyatta, and now you really have only a Brigitte for sustain on point. She doesn't have that power to be that solo healer.
Okay, Japan, they've re-established here. Chinese Taipei, though, they have some options for the next fight. They're going to have a Valkyrie. They're going to be... Oh, they don't have the blade. Kenmo again, so deep. Somehow finds Shaolin, and that just delays one more time.
And here's the problem with having a major ult bank. When you get delayed and rushed, as Japan is doing, they're getting a ton of ults out of those small, scrappy engagements, and Chinese Taipei really has nowhere to go.
Anakin again looking for the hack in the back, going for OYO perhaps, or the Mercy. We'll see. That was detected. I think they know he's there. Nope. Okay, they turn around. Yeah, Diva's going to be focusing him, and he forced out the Transcendence just by being there. The pressure was real. Chinese Taipei ends up going in a little bit preemptively because of that pressure from Anakin. And suddenly, I don't know if they have enough to bring this through. They still have ultimates, but it's slow. Shaolin, though, invests the blade. They still think they can do this. Gets one, looking for a little bit more. Pressured with the Winston, gets the second. And Chinese Taipei is still able to make a good situation out of what was initially bad.
2 tank ults there coming out very soon for Japan. If Taio can finish charging this bomb, it's going to get them even more delay on point. At this point, you can think about playing for overtime.
Chinese Taipei just needs a little bit more. 1 minute 45 left, getting onto that point. Depth though, a Nano Blade, he's been the savior so many times. Has to deflect under pressure. Nowhere to go.
Taio
gets healed
2.
back up. Taio got 2 on the self-destruct to the other side. And that keeps Japan in it.
Japan coming up so clutch there. OYO crumbling under pressure a little bit. Doesn't realize that Anakin is only at 20% EMP. Thinks that dive is coming. Pops his Transcendence, and that's really punished by Japan. Great comeback into that fight.
We're going to get a replay here of that self-destruct. We're looking at depth, but let's look at the big boom coming on in. Self-destruct, easy, over the top. No one can get away. That was nice coming in from Taio.
Perfect positioning, and now Anakin's dive really does have some teeth. Ready to EMP this thing out, but OYO instantly bursts him.
He had the EMP. That was Japan's trump card. Now Chinese Taipei with a real good chance of, well, Shaolin ends up falling. You can't go that deep on the McCree, and Japan needed that so Anakin could get back in with the EMP ready.
Yeah, frags going both ways here, but with no mercies on the field, this is going to favor the defense. They're able to just trade frags and use their closer spawns to their advantage.
Anakin gonna drop the EMP, looking for Zen in the back. Can he finish it? No, not quite! The pressure forces him back, but the EMP has still done enough. Japan dove in right after, punishing a Ting. He's out of the fight. Final 30 seconds. Chinese Taipei, they get one more attempt at Shaolin. How deep can a Doomfist go?
Shaolin coming back in the Doomfist there, and we saw a little bit of miscoordination from Chinese Taipei. OYO completely stifling Anakin with that quick reaction headshot, but we saw Shaolin and the Ting getting so deep and punished for that away from their team while they were responding to the dive.
Final opportunity here for Chinese Taipei. Note that even if they cap here, the best case scenario would be a draw, but we'll see if they can do it. Transcend coming on out here early in the fight. Depth holding on to the blade, waiting, blade out. Gonna be punishing the Zen here. Takes down OYO. Most of the blade, though, is gone, and yet that could be enough. Nano boost up. And you know what? Sometimes you don't need a blade. Just dive on in with the Nano. Let the cards fall where they may. Chinese Taipei throwing all their bodies on the point, but they're severely lacking in firepower. Japan has been able to deal pretty critical damage here. They just need a little bit more. Shaolin comes in, the Doomfist gets removed after one pick, and there's just not enough dominance here on the point.
Nice usage of the tank outs there by Japan. They're going to close this out very clean from them, constantly zoning that backline away. Kenmo and Taio always in their face, never letting those triple supports get the kind of value they want.
And Japan going up 2-1 here in the series, where remember, Japan has lofty goals. Japan would like to be a dark horse here that could potentially unseat either Finland or Russia in the overall standings. And we do kind of think they have that potential. And now they're just one map away from keeping that dream alive.
Chinese Taipei still looking to play spoiler though. Now it's their map pick. Maybe can turn things back the other way on our escort map.
Yeah, I mean, so far Japan was the only team to win a neutral map in the very beginning. Then when you go to a map that you're a little bit more comfortable on, Chinese Taipei able to turn it back around. So this has been pretty back and forth here so far. And given what we've seen here so far, what do you think Chinese Taipei is going to bring it to when you go to the score?
I mean, Rialto has been such a popular choice for it seems like everyone coming into this tournament, but Japan not traditionally thought of as or not experiencing the same difficulties that the Overwatch League teams are. There are contenders team. They have practiced Rialto. It has been sort of an Achilles heel for a lot of these more Overwatch League experienced players, but I think Japan will be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, Rialto, of course, it is sort of the land of chaos, but you bring up a very good point where Japan, they've been playing contenders. They are Cyclops Athlete Gaming in the Pacific, so it's like, oh, Rialto, we've seen this plenty of times.
Yeah, and this is, I think, sort of the final boss. Depp versus Blue, which Widowmaker will come out ahead? Such a Widowmaker favored map. These incredibly long sidelines. We've seen so many Widows come up huge on this map. It's really up to them, I think, to open things up for their teams. Whichever one wins the duel, I think will be probably taking this map.
Now, taking a look at both teams here, obviously we have Widow power on both sides, but Shaolin, he looked pretty good on Fire. You go back to King's Row, and we've seen Fars do a bit of work on Rialto here so far. What do you think about Shaolin tipping the scales here as we go in the Rialto?
It's certainly a possibility. We haven't seen a ton of double sniper or double hit scan out of Japan. They seem to favor that single hand scan, single projectile DPS lineup. So maybe there's a little bit of room for Pharaoh to work with, but it is a really tough test, especially because Depp is unlikely to be on the Hanzo. I very much expect him to be playing Widowmaker in this map. Much harder to get the Fair in versus that Widow.
All right, well, let's see what that map is going to be. Is it going to be Rialto? Yes. Well, the prediction, again, proving true. And you're in a spree here, Jake. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's almost like I have, excess knowledge. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, well, to be clear, we're not cheating on that. There is a world where you can hear it before you say it, but we think it's more entertaining to see, are we going to be right or not?
I mean, Rialto has been a really popular choice. It's a great equalizer, as you said. So many teams able to bring things back on Rialto, turn things the other way. This series, although Chinese Taipei has taken King's Row, that was certainly the closest map so far. Japan looking incredibly dominant with both of their wins, and that does matter to you when you're coming to a game like this, especially players with a little bit less experience, not playing in the Overwatch League. They're to be losing maps as crushingly as they are feels really bad, and it's hard to sort of get your momentum back, bring your spirits back coming into a map like Rialto.
Yeah, I mean, Rialto, of course, it has been more of a wild card, but when you're down this sort of setup in a match here, if you're Chinese Taipei, you're down a map, you're facing potentially losing the series, what do you think of as you go into map number 4?
What you have to be thinking of is, let's go back to what we practice. You have to have confidence in yourself as a team. What we practice will be effective. We will be able to make our strategies work, because trying to change things up on the fly at the last second is rarely effective. So I'm hoping Chinese Taipei brings their strengths. Everyone get your best heroes out, bring out the composition you're most comfortable on, and make it work.
So what you're saying is you're not a fan of the panic, hey, we practiced this in the lead up to the match, but let's just throw that all out the window and play something we've never played before.
I mean, look at what Japan is doing right now. They're on exactly the same composition that they defended Anugra's first with so well on that last map. So, they're clearly putting themselves in their comfort zone. Chinese Taipei is going to have to match that to outperform Anakin and his nanoblades.
All right, meanwhile, take a look at the Japanese defense here, and, going a little bit more in depth, you are going to be having the Ana in play, and we've been seeing Ana more and more this patch. What do you think has kind of led to the resurgence of Ana?
Well, certainly that additional 300 HP heal on top of the nano boost, boosted to 450 with a biotic grenade, it really brings up the low end. I mean, you're still going to be nano boosting your Genjis early in the fight when they're at full HP, that nano blade's so strong, but now you have that opportunity to maybe save a Diva or a Winston that you wouldn't have wanted to risk a nano on previously.
All right, Chinese Taipei going to be heading out the gates here. Ryan, Zarya in play, and they're going to be having Shaolin back on the Hanzo, so they're not going to be running the Fire here. Instead, it's full-on double sniper.
I like this choice, but Anakin is very well set up. Genji so strong against this double sniper. Sends body shot right back to Blue there.
Yeah, that was dangerous. Blue easily could have had that go straight back at his head as Depp gets crazy S early on in the fight, and that just makes things so much easier here for Japan. It's going to slow down Chinese Taipei. 10-10, lucky not to get picked off.
Shaolin taking this high ground, I love it, but I want to see them controlling this long Widow angle that Blue's taking. And you see this with Blue, very low infrasight charge. He's not getting value where so many other Widowmakers have. Great awareness, but Shaolin finds Anakin, caught out.
That is a very nice pickoff. Shaolin now can loop around the right-hand side. Gonna be looking to put pressure onto the tanks and just help win the shield war, help win the poke war. As Chinese Taipei, they have all 6 back in. They have that 6-on-5 advantage. Shaolin about to get the Dragon Strike here, and he can just layer this right in.
The infrasight, though, setting things up. They'll know exactly what to expect for Japan, but Shaolin finds Depp nonetheless through the infrasight.
He can see everything, but he didn't see that one coming. That's really big now for Chinese Taipei. They've gotten rid of one of Japan's big guns. Now note, Anakin is back in the fight now. He's to the other side. Shaolin holding onto the Dragon. Everyone's so split up. He doesn't have an easy Dragon target here, but he's under fire. Has to back up. Almost gets picked off.
Dropping low, but Blue finds Sabagod. That's a ton of heals out of the composition for Japan. The Shatter comes up big.
That's a nice flanking shot coming from the Ting. Again, surgical from Chinese Taipei. This is their map choice here, Jake, and right now they're proving why.
Yeah, this double sniper composition so strong. It's so hard to play Ana into these 2 snipers. You're so always terrified to scope in, Limiting your field of view makes you so vulnerable to these snipers. Now it's really up to Depp to recontest, but he's fighting into an infrasight. This is a really tough test for Depp.
We'll see what he can do here, where again, that is certainly hard mode in Widow v Widow. Meanwhile, you look to the point. This is where teams like playing a little bit more. 10-10 goes down. He had the grab. Depp with a crucial pickup, gets blue as well. Depp has brought Japan back into this fight, and that Transcendence all but wasted.
Depp showing why he's so confident on this Widowmaker, turning the heat up, 3 headshots, 3 kills, absolutely stifling Chinese Taipei. He wants more, gets a 4th, going to the spawn. I want to see more. Oh, but Blue ends the spree. A little bit over-aggressive from Depp, maybe feeling it a little too much there.
Look, gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins there, and I think he just had a little bit too much to eat. But I'm not sure what the overall effect is going to be. Chinese Taipei, they're coming in real quick, but Depp should be able to get back here pretty soon. Graviton is ready.
It's not about Depp anymore. Anakin with the Dragon Blade, unspotted behind, ready to take that Nano Boost. This could be massive.
Anakin going on in, Nano Boost is there, but the grab shuts him down! A defensive grab stops it, and yet Depp's back in the fight. He's taking down Blue, he's taking down Shaolin. No one's looking at Depp.
Depp finding so much value here out of this Widowmaker. The distraction of the Dragon Blade forces the Graviton out, but at the same time, Depp is just producing time and time again. Now he's got armor. This man is terrifying.
Oh man, Depp has been putting on a show. He's been the safety blanket here for Japan and Chinese Taipei. They invested a lot into that last fight and they got nada.
Yeah, Shaolin switching to the Tracer needs to put the pressure on Depp, give Blue a little bit of an advantage. It's clear that he's not winning the fair duels here.
Depp holding back right now. See what he decides to do. Of course, he's been public enemy number 1, and one way to remain that is don't let people know where you're at. Goes for the shot on the side. Could have gotten the Mercy there, but Chinese Taipei, they're taking it real slow.
A Ting drops the Shatter. It looks like he finds just Kenmo, but Kenmo still going in. Wants to zone out these backlines. Pins Claire. Great pin from a Ting.
Yeah, Claire was going in deep. Actually gets punished for that here. A Ting now going in deeper. No HP though. Focus down. Japan doesn't blink in the face of the aggression coming in from Chinese Taipei, and Japan continuing to hold on. We're down to the final 5 seconds. Someone has to touch a payload here, and oh boy, is it going to have to be Mercy and Diva. It is. Chinese Taipei on the verge of getting held. A Ting rolls on in. We got Hammond and Frey. See what Japan can do here as Chinese Taipei trying to make the most out of a bad situation.
Crazy S dropping low. They need to find this Mercy kill to stifle the offense.
See what happens. Crazy just barely. Oh, not able to get out of the fray. Japan still chases them down. And with the self-destruct, that's going to be clearing everything out. A blade from Anakin. Let's seal the deal. Everyone use your ults. Throw them off the payload. And Japan gets a staggering early hold here on Rialto. And that means their path to victory is pretty darn close.
I mean, we just have to go back to that that final recontest on first point from Depp. We said it, you know, he's going into the infra site. This looks so impossible for him, but he comes up absolutely massive, finds 4 picks, completely crushes the hopes of the offense, and it's so hard to recover from a Widowmaker who's hot like that. We said Widowmakers would be crucial on Rialto, and they absolutely are. Can Blue repeat Depp's performance? I think it's unlikely. Depp is looking hot.
So I gotta ask you here, there's an old adage in sports where everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Obviously, you've been a part of a lot of team meetings, Overwatch League, about how to plan for a team. What happens when a Widow just does that? What we just saw there.
Shaolin certainly making the right choice there, going to the Tracer, getting in Depp's face, does find a pick there on the side, and then, of course, when they didn't win that fight, but still putting the pressure on Depp, you have to give Blue a little bit of help. If he's not winning the straight-up 1v1s, don't take the straight-up 1v1s. Use your teammates, put pressure on the enemy Widow, and open up space for yours. Give her that advantage that she needs.
So, essentially, going back and looking at what happened there, you think that there's a world where Chinese Taipei could have just adjusted strategies and put, essentially, more manpower into dealing with Depp?
I mean, the real struggle is that with Japan on a dive composition, it's always going to be harder to pressure Depp than it is for Japan to pressure Blue. They have that Winston Diva always getting in Blue's face. We saw that constantly over and over again. Blue taking that long sideline that so many Widows have produced from, but Teo and Kenmo constantly in his face, never giving him the setups he wants. So if I was Chinese Taipei there, I want to see a more dive-based composition, but they're still sticking with the Rein Zarya. At this point, with the necessary first hold, these Graviton combos are something that you're going to have to bank on.
And your team in the situation where, the stats in Overwatch, you know that this is not a great situation to be in if you want to win the series. How do you play this where you know that you have to hold so far up?
Well, I mean, at least they got it to the archway. That is where so many teams have made the holds. We can see that box of victory is just there, almost before the arch. So Chinese Taipei does have a couple chances here. I'd like to see them take an aggressive fight so they at least get 2 chances.
We'll see if Chinese Taipei can get that aggression here early on. Japan, of course, not too much pressure on them here. They have the series lead, and they could have the series win. Depp on the Widow takes a highly aggressive position here early on, gets a rocket for his troubles. See how this works.
Yeah, not taking the traditional angle, but we see Anakin deep in the flank. I think he's getting on his counterpart.
Zenyatta awfully deep here for Chinese Taipei. Anakin needs a little bit of healing, goes back the other way, gets his own health pack, doesn't ask it from his team.
Depp spotted the enemy Widow. He knows the sidelines.
Okay, just looking for the Widow on the other side. Goes on up, again, looking for that quick shot, gets it! The backbreaker coming in here from Japan.
They're gonna have to get this res, but Anakin takes out OYO, going in for more, finds the Mercy as well, does Deb, on the, diving straight up into the air on the Pharah. The defense is crumbling here for Chinese Taipei. Japan looking to put a period on this series.
Yeah, they only need one more team fight. Chinese Taipei is gonna have the hold of the gods here. 3 minutes left and not far to go.
And honestly, Blue looking a little bit crumbling there, going out so aggressive into the courtyard. That's a major risk, especially against someone performing as well as Deb.
Japan, whoa, Depp again! Got Blue in the setup. The resurrection is there, but certainly the gauntlet has been thrown. Depp looking for it once more. He's still hungry, and now he's gonna swap back to the archway, and this is where the battle oftentimes is won. Chinese Taipei, the final stand here. You see Kenmo just cleaving his way on through, and Chinese Taipei still pretty well healed here in the back, but they're gonna lose 10-10 in just a moment. He's demacked.
Anakin's Dragon Blade coming online with the Valkyrie, ready to be damaged, which is going so deep. Depp absolutely crushing here, having no one to stop him.
He took the slide over the rooftop, but it doesn't matter anymore. Japan gonna grab Rialto. They take the series with dominance here on Rialto.
Yeah, that final fight, so difficult to take at that massive ultimate disadvantage, all coming off the back of that opening pick by Depp. And then, of course, that dive coming in, cleaving those supports apart. No one left to stand against Japan. They take the series 3-1. Wow, I mean, I thought the Widowmakers would be important on Rialto, but I didn't expect a performance like that from Depp. Really impressive stuff.
I mean, you were absolutely right in saying the Widows would be important. The problem is, for Chinese Taipei, is that it was a rather one-sided affair. Depp did whatever he wanted, in fact, going so aggro at points with just reckless abandon, and yet, in the end, it was very much effective, and Japan made Rialto their own.
Depp, we saw him even going a little bit too deep there, getting picked off at one point, but when you do things like that, sometimes it just puts the screws to the enemy. They're like, my God, this guy's fearless. He's running into our spawn, taking out 4 of us and going for more. That's the kind of thing that kind of sets you on edge as the attacking team. You don't want to see that.
So that's tilting as a player where you're just like, you shouldn't be able to do this, and you're still doing it, and we're still getting kicked.
Yeah, it certainly leaves you wondering, you're like, who should be dealing with this? Whose fault is it, right? Like, people wanting to blame each other, that can always lead to rifts in a team. It's so hard to play against a Widowmaker that's completely on fire like this. When they just stop missing, you don't know what to do anymore.
It's just like, well, we have this plan. Oh, we got to pick off. Oh, now we got another pick off. And out of curiosity, what does that do to teams in terms of their confidence going forward, where you certainly don't want to be the guy in your team that gets picked off first like 2-3 times in a row?
Certainly not, but one of the things you can do, like I was saying, is put the pressure on the enemy Widow, give your Widow more space, more of an advantage, more room to work with, but sometimes that's just not enough, and it can really feel terrible, especially in the Widow duel. That's, it is, like I said, it is possible to help your Widow, but so many times it just does come down to who hits the shot first, and with depth that on fire, it's really hard to get back into the game.
All right, guys, well, to break down Japan's strategy a little bit more, we got Tayo down on the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Tayo from Team Japan. Tayo, you were finally able to lock in your first victory of this World Cup stage. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we had a role change, so it was kind of hard, but we pushed through.
I noticed that. Can you take us a little bit behind the decision-making and making the role change and putting you on tank?
I mean, we have many strategies, and that was just one of them. And our coach told me to play sub-tank, so that's how it happened.
So it was actually a pretty close match. Was it surprising to see Chinese Taipei put up such a fight?
Yeah, it was kind of expected because I only had like 1 map worth of practice, but it worked out, so it's all good.
They're definitely a formidable opponent. All right, now moving on to our final match of the day, pretty much our match of the day against South Korea. A tall order to take them out. They're the top dogs here, and they're on their home turf. How are you feeling going into that matchup?
I mean, honestly, they're a lot better than us, but we have to at least win 1 or 2 maps for us to get to the BlizzCon, so we have to play better than we just did. So
you're confident you can take at least 1 or 2?
One map is all we need.
All right. I like it. There's a little bit of confidence with Tayo. Thank you very much, and congratulations on locking in your first victory. And with that, we're going to go ahead and toss back to the casters to break down the match.
When he's saying 1 map is all they need, what he's saying is we're going to beat Finland on day 3. That's what I just heard there.
I mean, they certainly have to punch their ticket to BlizzCon. You have to take down these stacked Overwatch League rosters if you're ready to go to BlizzCon. That's the level of competition that just will be expected there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it only gets tougher from here, right? Where these are the group stages. But, yeah, you get your ticket to BlizzCon. Guess what? BlizzCon's going to be chock full of talent, so this is the first step. But these teams certainly feel they can compete.
Yeah, I'd love to see that confidence. You know, as a player, you have to believe in yourself. If you go into a match thinking there's just no chance we'll take a map, they're too good, then you certainly won't be taking any maps. You know, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have the confidence in your teammates, you're certainly not going to be able to do anything in a series like that.
All right, well, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the last matchup here in case you're just tuning in and wondering, well, gee, how did this happen? Who is really standing out here between these two teams? We're going to get a better look at it here. And we got Kenmo here, where Kenmo was having certain moments here on Winston where it was easy to kind of look at depth, but he was getting good, solid distraction to the backline, map after map.
Blue finding a few picks here. It seemed like he was on fire on Ilios, but not really able to repeat this performance later on in the series.
Shaolin, of course, came in as Farah and certainly was the hero from time to time here, where Japan didn't always have the best answer for him, even with a Widow player like Dev. And, of course, Brigitte, a star on both ends. Saba just kind of flexing it there.
And we saw, oh, what a great shield bash. That timing just perfect combo play from the triple tank setup.
That was a game-winning play for Chinese Taipei at Kings Row, not a doubt in my mind. Of course, that helped out a little bit as well.
Yeah, certainly. Those self-destruct Graviton combos, one of the crucial elements of the 3-3 composition.
Pulls out the blade here, and of course, you go for the tanks, you get them out of your front line, and the back line quickly follows right after.
Yeah, chopping up the tanks, but we saw that even set up by that initial pick from Depp. If OYO is not dead, that just doesn't work the same way.
Anakin, of course, goes a little bit deeper in Kings Row. Still wasn't as effective for Japan in the end as Chinese Taipei was able to take the map, but it's kind of testament to the fact that both teams were playing quite well.
Certainly. I mean, and of course, we do know that this was Chinese Taipei's map pick, so maybe a little more comfortable with the swaps here. Here we see Sabagod at close range, doing a little bit of that Jay Jonak thing.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you gotta channel your inner Jonak. Only Jonak gets to be Jonak all the time. Other supports, they get to have it half the time, quarter of the time. You know, any time for Jonak is a good time.
Here we see, oh, great movement by Shaolin, getting over the top of the enemy Genji. That's exactly where you want to be in those Dragon Blade sword fights.
Yeah, it comes on in. It's like, oh, I got hacked, but I already got 2 people. I'm good. That's also good.
And Tayo with the roll swap, still really impressing me on this Diva. Really had all those setups prepared. Blue finding some picks here, but here we see Depp lighting up on Rialto.
Yeah, Depp, he was a practical inferno there with how well he was playing. Just headshot after headshot, sometimes going deeper than he needed to, but when you're this good, you don't play by the rules anymore.
Yeah, you know, sometimes that's just a way to build the momentum for your team. You see someone being that fearless, you want to follow them into battle, and that really gets you going, makes you feel confident and great, and that's how you play your best in a game like Overwatch.
All right, guys. Well, of course, we like the fans here, too, and you know who likes the fans as well? T-Mobile. Let's take a look at the T-Mobile Fan Pulse. New segment here, Fan Pulse. And you see here, super impressed with Mui from Hong Kong and Depp from Japan so far, OWWC 2018.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Mui has been putting it together for Hong Kong, a team that's had a lot of struggles here, but certainly Mui has been one of the bright spots, coming up big on Widow, even against some of the big names of the Overwatch League. And of course, Depp in that last game, completely lighting up. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in their match versus Russia, but this is what the kind of performance that he'll need to be delivering to punch their ticket to BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen sort of star widows come out of nowhere here, where, of course, you know the names from Overwatch League, you know your players like Carpe, where it's like, yeah, it's a fish that's taking down everyone. But it's cool to see new talent come up, where Overwatch World Cup, in a sense, it's not officially part of the path to pro, but oftentimes it is a real way of getting into the Overwatch League.
I mean, I can speak for that. It certainly was for me.
All right, guys. Well, I got to tell you what, the action is going to continue to intensify here. One of potentially the best matches of the day coming at you next. It's going to be Russia versus Finland. You won't want to miss it.